You are listening to The Vocal Technologist. Spoken tech for your ears.
You know, I was at a barbecue the other day. Just a proper backyard Barbie. Sausages sizzling, the absolute work.
Oh yeah, you cannot beat a proper backyard setup.
You really cannot. But then, you know that dreaded moment when someone you have just met hands you a drink and asks, "So what do you actually do for a living?"
Oh, the trap. That is an absolute trap. You never walk into that one if you work in tech.
Look, I walked straight into it. I tried to explain what a product manager actually does.
Good luck with that.
Right. I started talking about roadmaps and stakeholder alignment and, managing tickets. I could physically see the light leaving their eyes.
Just completely glazed over.
Completely. They eventually just cut me off and asked, "Okay, but do you write the code for the website or not?"
And if you say no,
Mm-hmm.
they just assume you sit around all day having too many browser tabs open and drinking way too much coffee.
Which, to be fair, is a statistically significant part of the job description.
Well, yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
But if you think explaining that role is hard right now, just you wait.
Oh, I know.
The definition of who uses software and who actually builds it is shifting so fast that the whole too many tabs thing might actually be the easy part to explain.
That is exactly what we are going to unpack. We have got some fascinating research to look at that suggests we are moving entirely away from humans clicking buttons on a screen to software clicking those buttons for us.
It is a fundamental shift. We are moving from a world built for eyes and hands to a world built for AI agents.
Which, sounds a bit like the start of a sci-fi horror movie. But we are going to ground this in reality. We are going to explore agentic AI, why user experience is essentially being swapped out for something else entirely, and a term that I honestly thought was a joke when I first read it.
Yummy guess. Vibe PMing.
Vibe PMing.
It sounds completely ridiculous, I know.
It sounds like a TikTok trend, but apparently it is a very serious, very distinctive shift in how products get built. We will see if I am convinced by the end of this.
I reckon you will be.
We shall see. We are also going to get into why the rumors that SaaS is dead are greatly exaggerated, but also why the business model everyone is used to is probably toast. The mission for us is simple. We need to figure out where the human actually fits in when the machine does the building and the buying.
It is the ultimate question, really. If the software uses the software, what is left for us?
So let us get into it. I want to start with this concept that your users aren't human anymore. That is a pretty bold claim to make.
It is bold, yeah. But if you look at the technical architecture emerging, it is incredibly accurate. For the last 20 or 30 years, the entire software industry has obsessed over one single thing.
User experience.
Exactly, UX.
The whole don't make me think, make the button green, put the checkout cart in the top right corner philosophy.
Spot on. We optimize for the limitations of the human brain. We worry about color contrast, font size, visual hierarchy.
Because humans get distracted.
Because a human needs to log in, scan a dashboard with their actual eyeballs, and decide to click something. That is the bottleneck.
But an AI agent does not have eyeballs.
It does not. And it does not care about your pretty dashboard or your dark mode settings. This is where we shift from UX to AX. Agent experience.
Agent experience.
Yes. In this world, the user is an always-on AI teammate. It is a piece of software that has been given a goal.
Okay, but let us make this practical for a second. What is the actual difference between a bot just reading a screen and this agent experience you were talking about?
Think about a sales manager. In the old world, the UX world, that manager logs into Salesforce, looks at a dashboard, sees that leads are down in a particular region, and then opens Gmail to write an angry email to the team.
Right, so the human is bridging the gap between the data and the action.
Exactly. The software just displayed the information. It was passive. In the agentic world, an AI agent is monitoring that data continuously via an API. It detects the drop in leads instantly.
So it does not need to log in and look at a bar chart.
No, it just reads the data stream. It analyzes the trend, drafts the email, perhaps even schedules a training session for the sales team in their calendars, and just pings the human for approval.
Wow. So it is not just a chat bot answering questions. It is executing full workflows.
That is the key distinction. Agents turn conversation into action. But here is where it gets super messy for developers. To make that work, you cannot just slap an AI text box on top of your existing website. You need context retrieval.
Ah, context retrieval. Unpack that term for us.
Well, think about where your work actually lives. It is fragmented everywhere. You've got specifications in Google Docs, conversations happening in Slack, tickets sitting in Jira, client data in HubSpot.
It is a total mess. I spend half my day just searching for links or asking people where the file is saved.
That is the reality. For a human, that is annoying but manageable. For an AI agent trying to do a job independently, it is a brick wall. If the agent cannot retrieve the context meeting, if it does not have permission and the technical ability to read across all those silos, it is useless.
Because it does not know what is going on.
Exactly. It hallucinates because it is blind to the actual business context.
So building for agent experience means building robust pipes between all these isolated tools.
It means exposing your product via APIs that are robust enough for a machine to use, not just a human. We call this cross-application automation. Companies are betting the farm on this shift. They know that in the future, the most valuable software will not be the one with the prettiest interface.
It will be the one that plays nicest with the agents.
Spot on.
That sounds like an absolute nightmare for security, though. Giving an autonomous agent read and write access to my private Slack channels and my CRM.
It is a massive security challenge, straight up. But the utility is so high that the market is forcing it through anyway. If you are building a B2B tool and you are only thinking about the human clicking around, you're basically building a legacy product.
You are building a typewriter in the age of the word processor.
That is a great way to put it.
This triggers a thought about the business model then. The entire B2B industry, the whole SaaS world, is built on seat-based pricing. You charge $30 a month for every human head using the tool.
And that model is about to completely implode.
Because if the agent is doing the work via the API, the human is not logging in. There are no seats to fill.
That is the logic. If I have one human manager overseeing 10 AI agents who are doing the work of 100 people, and you try to charge me for one single seat, you go bankrupt as a software company.
So how do these companies survive the transition?
You have to shift to outcome-based pricing or usage-based pricing. You charge for the work done. Did the agent close a support ticket? Charge for that. Did it process an invoice? Charge for that.
It feels like the cost of the software code itself is racing to the bottom.
It really is.
Yeah.
The marginal cost of software is pushing towards zero. You cannot charge for access anymore. You have to charge for value. It is a bit of a paradox.
How so?
The best software of the future might be software you never actually see. The interface literally becomes the API.
Okay, so if the interface is an API and the agents are doing the clicking and the agents are even writing some of the code, I have to ask the uncomfortable question. What are the humans actually doing all day?
This brings us to that term you loved so much. Vibe PMing.
I still struggle to say it with a straight face. It sounds like something a lifestyle influencer would invent. I'm just vibe managing my life right now.
It does sound incredibly fluffy. But stick with me, because the thinking here makes a really compelling case for what the future of work looks like.
Go on then, convince me.
Okay. Traditionally, a product manager writes incredibly detailed ticket specifications. As a user, I want to click this button so that X happens. They spend hours documenting edge cases. They herd cats, engineers, designers, stakeholders.
Trying to get one single feature shipped out the door.
Exactly. It is 90% logistics and documentation. But what happens when you have autonomous coding agents? The AI can write the specifications. The AI can write the boilerplate code. The AI can even run the testing suites.
So the PM just sits there drinking more coffee.
No, the PM becomes the guardian of the intent. That is the vibe. The vibe is the high-level direction, the soul of the product, if you will.
The soul.
Right. The human says, we need a feature that makes the user feel totally secure when they transfer large amounts of money, and they define the business constraints. The AI handles the execution details of how to build that.
So it shifts the role from being a project coordinator to being an editor-in-chief.
That is a perfect analogy. You are shifting from manual administration to pure decision-making. You are not moving the bricks around yourself. You are the architect looking at the building and saying, that archway is wrong, tear it down and fix it.
But does that not risk making us lazy? If I do not know how the bricks are laid, how can I be a good architect?
That is a massive danger. And that leads directly to the second concept we need to explore, engineering taste.
Taste is another one of those delightfully vague words. Usually, when engineers talk about taste, they just mean doing it my exact way.
Usually, yes. But here, taste is the ability to calibrate decisions. If an AI writes your code, You do not need to be a syntax expert anymore. You do not need to memorize the documentation.
But you still need to know if the code is actually good.
Exactly. You need to know if the architecture is sound. You need to look at the output from the AI and say, yes, that code runs perfectly right now, but it will completely break if we scale to 1 million users.
So it is judgment. It is wisdom over pure technical knowledge.
Spot on. There's a fascinating model with the Codex team at OpenAI. They run as a small, autonomous group. They embed AI into every single stage of their development cycle. Planning, coding, reviewing. They treat the AI as a core teammate.
Which allows them to move at startup speed even though they're inside a massive company.
Right. But the humans on that team are not junior developers just copy-pasting code from a prompt. They are senior engineers with incredibly high taste. They know how to steer the AI. If you lack that fundamental understanding, that taste, you're just going to generate a lot of rubbish very quickly.
Just scaling bad decisions at the speed of light.
Precisely. We looked at some arguments about the case for humans in all this. The main point was that just because we can build something fast with AI does not mean we should actually build it.
That is a very necessary counterpoint. AI is a generator. It generates text, it generates code, images, but humans provide accountability.
Accountability is huge. If a banking app crashes and loses people's money, you cannot fire the AI model. You need a human neck on the line.
And there is a community aspect too, is there not? Building things people actually want to use.
Absolutely. There is a soul to great products.
Yeah.
Think about the software you actually love using. It usually feels like it was made by someone for someone.
It has personality?
Yes. If everyone just uses the exact same AI models to build the exact same features, everything starts to look and feel completely identical. It just becomes gray goo.
So the Vibe PM is actually the person ensuring the product does not become gray goo. They're the ones injecting the humanity back into the loop.
That is the new job description.
Yeah.
Differentiating a generic utility from a brand that people actually love.
Let us zoom out a bit. We have talked about the user, the agent, and the builder, or the Vibe PM. Now let us talk about the company level. There is a lot of chatter saying SaaS is dead. Software as a service is completely over.
It makes for a very catchy headline, but it is much more nuanced than that. SaaS is not dead, but the traditional SaaS playbook, the one investors have been throwing money at for 15 years, is absolutely finished.
You mean the growth at all costs playbook?
Right. The old way to win in B2B was pretty simple. You build a product that is slightly better than the competition, you raise massive amounts of venture capital, you spend 60% of that money on sales and marketing just to lock customers in.
And then once they are trapped in your ecosystem, you expand the contract and raise the price every single year.
The Salesforce model, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
But that entire model relied on high switching costs. It was hard for a company to leave because it was incredibly hard to move your data. And it took months to train your staff on new tools. Now, AI-native companies can ship features in a week that used to take a legacy company a year to build. They can demonstrate return on investment immediately.
So the barriers to entry are just gone.
Basically, if a small startup can build a tool that solves my problem cheaper and faster, and an AI agent can migrate all my data over in 10 minutes, why on earth would I stay with the expensive legacy provider?
You would not. So the moat, the defensive wall around your business has collapsed. We used to rely heavily on technical moats, saying our code is too hard to replicate.
And now, code is cheap. If I can just prompt a large language model to clone your core feature in an afternoon, your technical moat is completely gone.
So what is the new moat? If code is not protecting you, what actually protects a business in this environment?
The research points heavily to non-code moats.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Trust is probably the biggest one. Who do you actually trust with your proprietary data? That is a massive moat. If I'm running a major bank, I am not going to throw my customer data into some random startup's AI wrapper just because it is cheaper.
That makes sense. Scale and distribution too, I assume.
Massive moats.
Yeah.
If you already have access to 1 million paying customers, that is incredibly hard to replicate. But there is also the data itself. If you have unique proprietary data that the AI needs to learn from to be useful, you win.
Because if you are just training your models on the open internet, you are a commodity. Everyone has access to that.
Exactly. There was also this really interesting concept of franchise thinking that we need to look at.
Franchise thinking.
Yeah. It's a complete mindset shift for builders. Instead of thinking about individual effort like, I need to work harder to build this specific thing, you build systems. You build a franchise where the AI and your team can replicate value constantly. It is all about leverage.
It feels like we are drowning in opportunity but starving for focus. You could build anything, so you try to build everything.
That is exactly why the advice on finding one metric to rule them all is so critical.
Explain that a bit, because usually startups have a dashboard with about 50 different metrics blinking at them.
And that is exactly why most of them fail. In this new world, you can build anything instantly. You can spin up 5 different fully functioning products over a weekend. The temptation to be distracted is overwhelming.
Just chasing the next shiny feature.
Yes, you need relentless discipline. You need one number, just one single metric that proves the business actually works and delivers value.
And let me guess, server uptime is not that metric.
No, absolutely not. Those are technical SLOs, service level objectives. Things like, is the server running? Is the latency low?
Right.
Who cares if the server's running if nobody's actually buying the product? You need business SLOs. Is the user getting value? Did the AI agent successfully complete the task it was assigned? That is what matters.
I want to take a step back here for a minute, because when you are in the middle of a massive technological shift like this, it feels chaotic. It feels totally unprecedented. But if you look at the history of tech, we have actually seen this exact pattern before.
We really have. And there is a perfect case study that mirrors what is happening with agentic AI right now. Gmail.
Gmail. It is genuinely hard to remember a time before it existed, but cast your mind back to the early 2000s.
The email world was pretty grim back then. You had Hotmail and Yahoo dominating the space. And they were completely trapped in a scarcity mindset.
You had what, maybe 10 megabytes of storage total?
If you were lucky. You had to delete emails constantly just to make room for new ones coming in.
I remember that vividly, spending hours sorting and deleting attachments. And their whole business model was banner ads and trying to upsell you on a tiny bit of extra storage.
That was the logic. They were optimizing entirely for scarcity. Then Google launches Gmail. They offer a full gigabyte of free storage right out of the gate.
Which was like 500 times more than the competition.
Exactly.
People literally thought it was an April Fool's joke.
They did.
Oh.
But Google did not just build a slightly better email client. They completely reshaped the economics of the web. They moved the entire paradigm from scarcity to abundance.
And they changed the user behavior entirely. We went from sort and file to search first. You never actually had to delete an email ever again.
And the incumbents, Yahoo and Microsoft, they just could not compete. Not because they lacked the engineers or could not build the tech, but because their underlying business model simply would not let them.
Spot on. If Yahoo suddenly gave away free storage to match Gmail, they would instantly destroy their own revenue streams. They were disrupted by a completely new economic model, not just a new feature.
So apply that exact lesson to this agentic AI shift we are seeing.
Okay, I see where you're going. We are seeing the exact same thing play out. The incumbents, the big legacy SaaS companies, are just trying to add little AI chatbots to their existing scarcity-based models.
Right. They are saying, pay us $30 a seat, and here is a little helper bot on the side.
That is the Yahoo move.
It absolutely is. The winners in this new ways will not be the ones who just sprinkle a bit of AI on top of an old product. It will be the companies that use AI to fundamentally reshape the economics of how work gets done.
Just as Google made storage abundant, agentic AI makes execution abundant.
That is a very powerful thought.
Yep.
If execution is abundant, if getting the actual work done is cheap and instant, then the true value is purely in the direction.
We are back to the vibe.
We are back to the vibe. The value is in knowing what to ask for, not the manual labor of doing it.
Which is both slightly terrifying and incredibly liberating at the same time.
It really is.
So let us try to sort out the main takeaways here for everyone listening. We have gone from building buttons for human eyes to building APIs for autonomous agents.
We have shifted from manual product management, writing endless tickets and herding cats, to vibe PMing, where you manage the overarching intent and exercise engineering taste.
We've learned that SaaS is certainly not dead, but the old growth at all cost playbook is burning to the ground. Your code is no longer a protective moat. You need trust, you need proprietary data, or you need distribution.
And the golden rule to remember: do not be a Yahoo in a Gmail world. Do not cling to scarcity when the new technology creates total abundance.
Sage advice. Look, before we sign off, I want to leave you with one final provocation from the research. There is this concept of insider amnesia.
This is a really good one to end on.
We sit on the outside looking at these massive tech companies. Google, OpenAI, Meta, or even these chaotic, fast-moving AI startups. And we look at the news and think, look at them, they are a mess, they are shipping buggy features, they have completely lost the plot.
But we misjudge what is actually happening because we lack the internal context. We do not see the difficult, incredibly messy process of reinvention happening behind closed doors. We just see the construction site and assume the whole building is falling down.
When actually, they might just be tearing down the old walls to build something much, much bigger. Perhaps the chaos we see from the outside is just the necessary friction of rapid progress.
If it feels chaotic, it probably means something substantial is actually happening.
That is the spirit to take into it. If you want to keep up with all that chaos and help us make sense of it, make sure you are subscribed to The Vocal Technologist. We will be right here to decode the next big shift. Cheers. Catch you next time.
Spoken Tech for your ears.